you can start working on our next assignment. Remember I said you could do one of two things. One of them, you can do a head. This is like a creature head. So in the past, people have gotten a really, become a really fun assignment because it's more open, it's more organic, and you're seeing the process going from a program like Cinema and taking into another program called ZBrush, okay? The process is pretty similar to the process that we did as far as like we have a model, we need to save it, and then open up another app. But in ZBrush, we can do a lot more fun stuff. Like you can actually go into there and basically texture or paint in like skin pores and super fine details that you can't typically do inside of a program like Cinema. So I want to show that process. Our other thing that we could do is title sequences. So if you wanted to do different title sequences, then you would ignore what I'm saying up here today and you would find tutorials, designs, ideas for what you want to do, and you would just do those. There's so many tutorials on title sequences inside of Cinema outside of the norm of things that we would look at. Let's ignore the baby head for now. Title. Not like this one, excuse me, like we did before. Stuff like this, or stuff like this, or you know, just fancy different ways to create these different title sequences. Okay, stuff like that. Okay, so depending on which one you are going to do, it's up to you what you want. Okay, so you just have to find those tutorials and then follow them along. If you're doing the titles, you're going to create 3 of them, which is basically like 1 a week for the rest of the semester, with the exception of that last week. If you're doing this one, then this will take you to basically 3 weeks from now. Okay, it'll get you all the way from here into ZBrush, texturing it, and then rendering it out into a still image that we can bring into Photoshop. All right, I did. All right, so this is going to be the first step of this, is creating a base head. Okay, now inside of ZBrush, you can actually go through and you can start off with a sphere. And there are people who do that. They are so proficient at what they do, they can start off with just a sphere and sculpt a head right out of it. And just to give you a little quick video about that. But it all starts with, let me close that. It all starts with a base head. So your first job is to go and find an image you want to use as a base head. So for mine, I wanted to create kind of like a alien-like creature, but I want him to start off with kind of like a baby face, so really rounded is what I was going with. So you just go to Google and you search for face profiles and you find face profiles or baby or whatever, baby face profiles. You want to find something big and you want to find something that has the entire head in it. Not face, sorry, head profiles. So if you find one that you like, you save it to your folder. So that's what I've done here. So I'm going to make a new project. I'm going to middle click. And for this, I like to typically work in this view. I like to have all 4 of my views up because I'm always working in different views to see what the other stuff is doing. So I'm going to go into this view, and under my options, I'm going to configure my right view. Okay? When you do that, you get this. And I can specify, here's the image I want to use. There's baby face. And there it is. So now when I line up my character, I know exactly this is where these points should be. It's great if you also have a front view of the same character. It really helps to be able to see, here's where the eyes are in the front view, here's where they are in the side view. We're not always that lucky to have that. If you have a character at home or even yourself, you could shoot a side view of yourself and a front view of yourself and use that as your starting point, okay? Because all we're looking for really is eye, nose, and mouth placement, and essentially the shape of the head. We can tweak everything after too, but we want to get those basic forms in line first, okay? So I have this here. I can adjust my sizing, okay, scaling it down or up. I could offset it if I need to, rotate it if I needed to. I typically don't need to do that. You can also adjust transparency if you need to see through it too. So sometimes you'll need to do that. All right, so I'm going to start off with a sphere. Now in past, in Maya, I would typically start off with a cube, but in Cinema, you actually have some more options to tweak your sphere to get it to the point where I want it to be. So I'm going to take my sphere and I'm just going to resize it until it's roughly the size of the baby's head. Okay, so right about there. Okay, so you can see if I switch to this view and I switch this to shading, you can see it's roughly the size of that area, which is perfect. Maybe a little bit more. Let me go here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We'll just do that. That should be good. Okay. So now I've covered the entire head. So now I'm going to switch my lines on, because I need to see the lines in this next instance here. Okay? Because what I don't want to do is start off with something this dense. Just like our drone, if we start off too dense, it becomes very difficult to work with. So we want to keep this super duper low res. So 24 segments is way too much. On mine, I dropped it down to 8. And 8 is actually a good amount to keep a nice round shape without going too crazy. Now, we talked before about not liking triangles. You can see the top of this is all triangles. So if I switch this to a hexahedron, I believe it is, there we go. Everything is 4-sided. Perfect, okay? Now in Maya, I would start off with a cube and I would smooth it and I would get this shape. In Cinema, it's already there, so I don't need to do it. All right, cool. So now I can say C to edit it. And just like our drone, I want to create a setup here that allows me to see what the smoothed out finished version looks like and what the rough version looks like. I work on the rough version all the time, but I still want to see what the smooth one looks like. So I'm going to jump to this view, and I'm going to delete this. I'm going to make sure I have this only visible turned off. I'm going to grab the side of it, make sure tolerance on also. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to delete half of this thing. Okay, not the half in the side view. I want to delete the half in the front view. So that way I only have half of the head right here. So then what I'm going to do is, in the drone, what we did was we symmetried it, right? And then we smoothed it out. And then every time we wanted to see what it looked like unsmoothed and unsymmetried, we'd have to uncheck those boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this instance node. Okay, so if I click on the sphere and I go to instance, it'll create an instance of it. An instance is basically just a copy that always updates. So when I update the one, it'll update all of them. Okay, if I have 7,000 instances, all 7,000 will update at the same time. We can't see it right now because it's on top of the other sphere, which is fine. I'm going to leave it right there, just so you can see it. I'm going to turn off the one. I guess I can't turn it off because it'll turn off the other one. There it is. Okay, so it's there. You can see it right there. So now what I'm going to do is to this instance, I'm going to symmetry it. Okay, so now I have a full sphere, and then I'm going to subdivide it. So now you'll see that I have this perfect sphere here, and then I have my low-res sphere there. Every single time I work, I'm working on the low-res. You do not touch the high-res version. The high-res will be what the end result will look like. We don't want to go anywhere near the high-res right now. You screw up the high-res, it'll screw up everything. So I'm going to take this sphere, and another thing that I want to do is if I hit Control R, obviously I can see the smooth and the rough in the same shot. So I'm going to go over to this sphere, and I'm just going to double-click the bottom circle. That means do not render the bottom circle of this sphere. So now when I render it, though, I will see just that and not the other stuff. Cool. All right. So now it becomes very difficult, okay? One of the things that everyone wants to do is add exactly the number of divisions and then start tweaking and putting stuff in there. Don't rush the process. It may take you, just like the drone, 3 or 4 or 20 different starter heads before you get the process the way it looks. If you come out of Cinema with a junk-looking head, you're going to go right into ZBrush with a junk-looking head, and it's going to come right out of ZBrush with a junk-looking head. Okay, so don't rush the process with this. So every time we add divisions, we add a division and we move it. We tweak it. We're adding specific divisions in order to get it to be the shape and the size and the position, and then we add the next one and we do the same thing. Then we add the next one and we do the same thing. Okay, so just to get him lined up, I'm going to switch to this view so I can see it. And I'm just going to go to my points, and I'm going to switch this to lines. And this is where you may want to come into like configure, and just take some of that transparency down. There we go. That way I can see the wireframe a bit better. All right, so now I'm going to take this and start moving it. I'm moving each one of these outer points to line up with the baby's head, okay? Now if I, just so you can see this black line right here, that black line is the sphere. I don't care where that is right now. I don't line up the sphere to the baby's head. I line up my lines to the baby's head. Because once I start adding more lines in there, then that will start pushing it out further and further and line up much, much better. Okay, so I'm just moving these in alignment with the baby's head. Super simple. Okay, now here I have to move both of these because I have to kind of notch this in a little bit. I'm going to pull out the neck, so I'm actually going to pull this to about here. And I'm going to pull these to about, let's say, there. All right, that should be good, like that. And then I'm going to go through and just even this out, okay? So one thing we don't want is unevenness. So every single one of my lines here should kind of flow around the head. There shouldn't be any areas where, let me just switch to this view real quick. There shouldn't be any areas where this just like juts up really quick, and this is like a weird shape under here, okay? There shouldn't be anything like that. You can see already we're kind of getting a nice smooth head surface over there. I may want to also grab these and maybe just squish that over a little bit. Okay, and again, you can hit Control-R, test it out, see what it looks like. All right, so now I'm going to go to my faces, and I'm going to grab. See, I don't have enough divisions here yet, right? Because I want to pull out the neck, but essentially I need a division right here to pull that neck out. Otherwise, I'm be pulling the chin right from down there, and that would look weird, right? So I'm going to go to my loop tool. So I'm going to hit K. I'm going to make sure this is on loop. Make sure that restrict to selection is off. Make sure that visible only is off. And I'm just going to add a division here. Okay, I'm going to start rounding off the face this direction, left and right, before I start adding any up and down. So I'm going to go, let's say, here. Then I'm going to switch immediately to my selection tool, switch to my arrows, or my points, and start to pull this out. Okay. And you'll see here, look at this line. It comes pretty much straight across, maybe a little bit down, and then it goes up, and then it comes down again. So that's kind of like a weird way for that line to transition, because it's basically going down and then up and then down again, okay? And it's subtle, but these subtleties will carry over into the next set. So we always want to make sure we're looking at all of this. Okay? Also, look at this straight line right here. Has actually caved the head in. If I render this, kind of see it. Anyway, you can kind of see how this is pretty flat right there. So I want to pull that out. I just want to maybe pull this out a little bit. Okay, all the way back here, same thing. I got to pull it out a little bit in both directions and pull this out. Now I have to make sure too that I don't move this, grab this, move this away from here, because just like our drone, it'll create a split, and then we won't have a nice opening or a nice closure there. Okay, so that's pretty good so far. So now let me switch back to here. And the reason I'm switching between the views, I typically don't, is because I want you to be able to see it better. Typically, I work in that small view and then just tweak everything from those other views. So I'm going to split it about here, and then I'm going to switch back to my move tool and pull this out. Now, your face is, imagine if you've seen The Matrix, like The Matrix 1, where Neo, or whatever his name is at the beginning, Mr. Anderson, he has the no mouth thing. That's how you build a mouth really good, because you try to build it without having a mouth right there, okay? So I wouldn't ever want to pull this out to where the lips are, because that's unnatural. I want to pull it out to about where that would be if his mouth was like sealed over. That sounds weird, but that's how you do it. And then the same thing with the nose. The nose will be extruded, so I never want to pull anything out to there, because I'm going to extrude faces to get the nose to be where it needs to be. So again, imagine there's no nose here, and this just kind of like softly comes in. So I'm going to go through each one of these spots, and I'm just going to pull out these points. I'm going to switch to this view, just so I can see it better. And I'm going to pull it out this way too. And I may need to go to another point and just kind of pull that out too. There we go. Cool. All right. So now we're getting somewhere. Okay? But you can see the process. I haven't added 10 lines in and tried to tweak these 10 lines. It doesn't work. Okay? I need to do one at a time, essentially. So now I'm going to add one about here so that I can pull the neck out. That looks good there. Switch back to my tool, pull this up. And I'm actually going to pull this a bit over too. I think like right about there seems good. Okay. you have to keep in mind that your head is actually like two directions, right? There's a front area and then a side area. It's not perfectly round all the way. So you have to keep that in mind, that we're not trying to keep it perfectly round. So this is like the side area, or the center of the side area transition. So where it's transitioning from the side to the front is where this thing is going to be about. Maybe a little bit further up here. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that like that. I'm going to switch to this view. And again, I haven't done anything crazy yet. It's just a matter of getting these things lined up. And make sure you're switching to your views. If you only do this in one view, you stick to that side view, your creature will come out really weird because his entire head will be sideways. It'll just be like a big flat extrusion. Alright, so that's looking pretty good so far. If I needed to, maybe in the top view here, I think I could probably flatten this out a little bit more. Maybe pull this out a little bit more. Whoops. Alright, so that's looking good. Alright, so now I'm going to go to my faces, and I'm going to grab these faces here, and I'm just going to extrude them down. Okay, so I'm going to hit D. I'm going to extrude them slightly, just because of how Cinema works. And then I'm going to switch to my Move tool and just pull it straight down. Okay. Now your end result of this is the base should be flat. That way if we do 3D print it, the base is flat, he'll sit on the table and he won't fall down. Okay. So I'm going to go switch to my Scale tool and grab the green and just hold Shift and snap it so that it's straight and flat. That's good. Now as we did this, let me render this so you can see it. You'll see that his neck is split. It's a cute little character right now. Actually do something with that. But what happens is every time you extrude the border, it keeps that extra face. Okay? I'm sure there's something over here we could probably click, but I just ignore it and I just delete it. So I'm going to go in here to this face and just delete those, and then it should be good. Now it is going to have a hole here. You can see the little hole. And I have to go back to this view, and you'll see that when I did the extrude, it actually pulled it off to the side. So I'm going to go to my points. I'm going to switch to my selection tool. I'm going to marquee all these points. And I'm going to make sure my grid snap is on. Oops. There we go. And line. Oh, I have to scale it first. There we go. So you flatten that out. Then I switch to my Move tool, and then we line it up. Come on, get right on there. What are you doing? Oops. I clicked on the wrong button. There we go. Cool. Alright, so now he's lined up perfectly. So now if we were to render this, he should be seamless right down the middle. Yep. And it's a good idea too to look at it from the back, maybe the bottom also. Yep, that's good. Okay, so you can see how already we have just the start of it. We have the neck and we have the skull area kind of set up. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so, oops, wrong way. Oh my gosh. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab these points here and just pull them out. Okay, so this will give me basically just a little bit of shoulder area. So again, if I printed it, I have more of a foundation that he could actually sit on. If it's too narrow, it will just topple over. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, and I have a little bit more freedom in my picture because I don't really see it, so that's fine. I'm going to switch to my knife tool, and I'm going to slice it about here. I can turn my snap off. Grab these points, maybe pull them over a little bit more. Right, and now I'm getting this weird thing where the baby's looking like it's really thick-necked, right? Because it doesn't look like it has a neck, it just goes right into shoulders. Because I have this head division and I have the shoulder division and it just goes straight out. So what I need to do is put another division really close and kind of squeeze it in a little bit. And that will help define the neck a bit more. So I'm going to go back to my knife tool, click on something about here. And this is where it can get confusing, so that's why we want to use several views. First, let me take this off. This is like, babies don't have these. Let me just take this down. Okay, keep this stuff nice and soft. I'll pull that in, we'll pull this in. We'll pull these in. this in. And again, I'm trying to keep everything nice and smooth and soft, so it's always doing the same kind of thing. All right, so now if we render this, you'll see it definitely looks like we have more of a neck right there. And we could enhance that further, but babies do kind of have this, you know, a tinier neck area than people do, than adults do. Babies are still people. All right, so that's cool. So now we have to look at the next stage of this. We have the structures. Now we have to start adding in the finer details. So I'm going to jump over to this, and I'm going to jump over to another image thing, and I'm going to look up face muscles. Yeah. I look up face muscles. It's scary, but we have to look at it anyway. All right, so these are the face muscles. So these are the muscles that are underneath the skin on your face. Now this is important because if we want a character to ever blink or open and close their mouth or raise an eyebrow or anything, we have to understand those kinds of things. There is a guy, and his name is just had it, Ryan Kingsling. There he is. So this guy here, Ryan Kingsling, he always has these free tutorials, and if you ever get, I don't know, he can talk for hours. So if you ever get a couple hours where you just need to either listen to something or just, you know, have something up going on the other screen, his stuff is fantastic because he goes through like the entire facial muscle system where he'll talk about every single muscle and how it's important. So if you're trying to create an older character, he's like, these are the muscles that you need to worry about in the face to make that character's face feel older. And he talks about why things are the way they are. Like, you know how people, like older people, have these like sagging areas, right? So the reason they have that is because their muscle is starting to basically give way and they're starting to stretch. So that's how you would create that. And the little line right here is defined by that amount of sag and by the other muscles in your face. So it's really interesting discussion that he has inside there. So we have to know this stuff because as we model, we need to model our character with these kinds of things in mind. So this, where's my pointer? This circle right here that goes around the eye area, we need to model our eye so that it has a circle there. I can't leave it like this. I can't leave this eye just like that because that won't look good. Okay, you can see how square this area is. If I wanted my character to blink, it wouldn't look like a good blink. Okay, it wouldn't even look like a good eye because of the dynamic of those divisions. Same thing with the mouth area. You can see how there's round muscles right here. We need to create those. Okay, so if we keep that in mind as I go in here, then we can start doing some stuff that makes us look a bit better. So I'm going to start lining some stuff up. Now looking at the kid, I need some divisions by the eye. I don't really like where this one is, so I'm going to kind of pull this up a little bit. Come on. I'm going to pull it up a little bit and pull it over. And this is going to be essentially his eyebrow. Okay, so I'm kind of pulling it up a little bit. I'll pull that one down a little bit. Okay, and then this is just going to transition kind of back there. Cool. I'm not sure if I like the way this is going. Let me just fix that real quick. There we go. And this one too. So you can see every second of my modeling, I'm always doing it kind of once over, like what's everything else doing, just making sure everything else is cool. So far, good. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my knife tool. I'm going to put a division about right there. So it's right at the center of the eye, right about there. Okay. Now this division right here, that's going to be the center of my eye. Oops, maybe not that one. That one's like way too far off. Okay. So this one, and this is a good indicator too, this one shouldn't be here. This one should actually be like way back here. Oh, button. There we go. So I'm going to start moving all of these kind of back a little bit further. And starting to smooth that transition in. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go back with my loop tool, and I'm going to go to about here. There we go. Now this one is going to be about where I have the eye center. So I'm just going to move these over and try to line up. Oops. This nice and easy. And at the same time, I'm trying to create a nice base for where the mouth is going to be. And I think I still need some work on the neck. I think this is maybe just a little bit too thick still. Okay, eventually you'll get to the point where it's just you playing around, just moving points where you think they need to be. Okay, so eventually you'll get away from the reference image. Realistically, you're using it for, again, the shape of the head, just the basic outline of it, so that the crown area isn't like too small or too big, or the neck isn't coming out at a weird spot, and then the placement for the eyes and nose and the mouth. All right, so this is where I had that eye one. So let me just again adjust this, pull this in. Oopsie, click that, pull it up. There we go. And I can tweak these other ones later too, because I still need this to be nice and smooth. Okay, so there's the eye. So now what I need to do is I need to create divisions here, across, and down. Okay, so I can create basically a rounded shape right where the eye is going to be. Now in order to do that, I'm going to switch to my knife tool and just put a division, let's say down here. Okay, so now I put that division in. I have to go back and tweak it, make sure it's nice and smooth. And you'll see I'm not grabbing the center of this at all. I'm just grabbing the arrows. All right, so that's good. All right, so now I'm going to go in with my knife tool and just add a division right about here. Okay, so this division coming down the center is like the bridge of your nose. That's where I'm trying to separate the eye area from the bridge of the nose area. Okay, so I'm going to go through and tweak that eventually. I just want to see in my render view what this is looking like so far. Yeah, that's not too bad. That bridge of the nose area is going to have to come out though. I'm going to turn off this stuff so I can't see it right now, because I just want to be able to kind of spread these a little bit further apart. So let me push that over. Push that over. And if they're too close together, that's why I'm getting that ridge, because Cinema is trying to blend all these vertices together, and so I get that ridge. So once I start spreading these further apart, that ridge should go away. It should soften. Here where the nose is, I'm cool with it kind of being there because the nose kind of has that ridge. Definitely by the mouth, I don't want that. If it gets too confusing with all these lines, you can go to display and say hidden line, and it only shows the front. That way you can focus on just the front stuff. So you can see how I'm just kind of pulling and scooting these over. Alright, so now if we go back here, I turn this back on, and we render it. You can see that ridge now is gone. Just because I've spread them apart. I didn't do anything else, I just spread that further apart to help soften that. You can also see now where we're getting an indication of where the eyes are going to be, but not necessarily like locked into where the eyes are at. Just an indication. So now what I'm going to do is this area right here, okay, that's essentially my eye area. So just like I have here, where I have this big round shape, it's not just the eye is round, but this entire area right here is round. I want to encapsulate that. So I'm going to switch to my point tool, or my points, and just start to shape this into a round form. Okay, so you can see how I'm just trying to round this off a little bit so that it's not perfectly square. All right, so you can obviously see right there, that's where the eye is happening. Then I'm going to grab the faces for this, and I'm going to extrude it inner. Boom. This is where we would use extrude inner. Yeah. So I'm just going to drag this in, and there's my eye shape. Okay, because I created this round shape out here, now I start to extrude it in, we're getting this perfectly rounded eye shape that we need. Then we can just go into this view and start to maybe scoot it up a little bit, grab the points, make sure we're in the right selection tool. And what I'm doing is I'm dragging these lines. That one went too far. There we go. I'm dragging these lines all the way down to where that eye area is. Bless you. Okay, so this is essentially right around the eye lid area is what I'm doing. So maybe that guy could come in a little bit more. And think about your own eye. A lot of modelers, when they start off, they even have mirrors that are by them so they can constantly reference, like, what do these things look like? A picture only goes so far. You can't actually see it. But to have a mirror or several pictures in front where you can kind of look around and see what your eye is doing definitely helps. So now if we were to render this, we can see we definitely have some, notches inside there. Oops, I did it again. This point's going to have to come in also, like that. And then this is where it can get confusing because I'm trying to see, my stuff and their stuff, so I may need to just disable that or hide it or something. Okay, so this one's coming out maybe way too far. It should be here. This one I'm going to pull down. There we go. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Okay. So in this case, we're not going to actually model the eyelids. That would be done inside of Cinema, or inside of ZBrush, but we're just getting the shape and gesture of where they're at. Okay, so that's a pretty good indicator right now. Now here's where we can really start to play with this, because we can say, maybe I want the eyes to be closer together. Because we don't have that front view, who knows where they're actually at. But I can grab these, make sure I deselect the back ones. There we go. I can grab this and just scoot it over or further apart. I can also hit T to go to scale, and I can make them bigger or make them smaller and scoot them over. So when you're trying to customize what your creature has, what he looks like, this is at the stage where you can start to do that. Okay, that looks odd. Let's go back to where he was. Cool. Alright, so we're going to leave him there. Alright, so now I'm going to do the nose and mouth real quick, and then that'll be the end of the base head. Okay, and I'll show you the next step next time. So same thing is going to be applied, right? So I'm going to go in here, not that. Go in here and line up the mouth. Okay, so this is about where the mouth is going to be. And I just want to kind of capture a little bit of what this is doing. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to go into, I'm going to do the mouth first. I think I'm going to do the nose first. So I'm going to do the nose first because I want to do that. I need a division right about there. That's the bottom of the nose. I already have one up here. I should have plenty right there. So that's good. Then I'm going to grab all of the nose faces. Oops, too far. Right there. And then I'm just going to extrude it. So I hit D. I extrude this out. And then you'll see we have this weird bump. So I just have to switch back to my faces and delete that. Then switch back to my points. And then make sure again that we've flattened everything here and we've snapped it. I gotta hit my snap on. So I keep turning it off because I'm done with it. Right. There. Okay. So that's pretty good. It's still not right on. We'll have to fix that. Okay. So then what we can do is not spin this view. I need to figure out a way to lock that. I just need to move these down now into that same spot so that we can start to shape out where the nose is. And again, I'm not going crazy with this. I just want it to be about where that nose would be. Okay, now we're still off a little bit. I need to figure out which points I missed. Make sure that I have lines on. Yes. And marquee all of these. Okay, that's not one I need. Or is it? I don't think so. It is one. So it's way back there. There we go. So now it's nice and clean, right? No seam down the middle. So then we're just going to go through and just start tweaking the points to get the rest of the result to look right, right? Like his nose doesn't have this weird bump in it. Fix that. Pull this a little bit forward. There we go. Okay. And then there's still something right there at the bridge of the nose that needs to be corrected. Probably this point just needs to come out. Yep, that was good. Okay. So again, nostrils we're going to worry about inside of ZBrush. We're just getting, again, just the base head. Cool. I think even the mouth we could probably do inside of ZBrush. Just to show it, I'll do this here. So I'm going to go back to my knife tool, and I'm going to turn off loop and go back to line. I'm going to turn off single, turn off visible, and I'm just going to draw in the mouth. So that. Okay. So I drew in essentially where I think that mouth is going to be, and then I could come into my side view and just tweak where the mouth is at. So I'm going to go, say, here. Say, come on. There. And then this is the lip line. And this is the direction of the mouth. There we go. Okay. So now it looks silly, obviously. And I need to go bigger, too. So like on the eye, we went pretty big. On the mouth, we have to go bigger, too. So I need to actually pull this out some, pull this back some. And then probably pull this up a little bit more and in. Pull this one down a little bit more and in. Good. So his mouth is actually like obviously bigger than it needs to be because I need to create those circles around the lips. So I take this, I do my extrude inner, I shrink this in, and then there's going to be the mouth. Now with this extrude inner, we get these extra faces on the side. I need to delete those. Ooh. Then I can grab this and shift this into the center using my snap. There we go. And then we can grab these faces. And I'm just going to do another extrude inner. Oops. And another delete of these faces. Another movement of these right to this line. Good. Okay. So then what I can do is start to tweak some of this. So I have all these lines here. So now I can go through this and start to move these things in. So this is the upper lip here. Let's pull that out. Make sure my snap is off. So the nose area, let's pull that out some. So there's the top lip. This is going to be the bottom lip here. This is going to be this area. This will definitely get confusing because obviously there's a lot of lines here. So just try to keep everything nice and clean so they're not intersecting each other, and it'll be much easier to do. There we go. So now you can see how it's kind of rough right now, but now we have some sort of lip right on top of it. Now we can start to tweak it. Now that we have the shape, then we can start to move the lips into the direction that we need them to be. Really sad guy. Let's go here. Let's move this up. Let's grab this one, move this up. See, so now we're just kind of flattening this. And again, we're getting the base, so that inside of ZBrush, we can go ahead and tweak it more. I do need to obviously fix some of this because I'm getting a crease or a line or something. Right? There's a line right there. I'm going inside the mouth just so I can marquee these. And then I can scale it together. And then I can go to the move tool and turn my snap on. There we go, nice and smooth. Okay. So again, now that we have this, then we can go in here, and this is, I go inside a lot just to grab stuff easier. And then we can start to tweak what these shapes are looking like. And I'm going to pull this one out a little bit more, or up a little bit more. There we go. So that'll be good enough when we get into ZBrush for us to be able to go through and tweak a lot of that look. Okay. So that's essentially the base head. This is what we're going to then take into ZBrush and actually add in. Here's what the eyes are going to look like. Here's what the nose is going to look like. Here's what the mouth and the skin detail and everything else. We avoid ears because ears are one of the most complex things to do on the head. But we can add some sort of alien-esque ears onto our character. Now, one more thing I want to do before I stop this is to also talk about the divisions. If I turn off my grid, filter grid, there we go. Look at the divisions here where we have some of these that are super tight together and some of these that are super far apart. We don't want that. So I'm not going to record this, but the next part of this is to go through and clean all this up so that we have more equal divisions all over the place. Okay. So if I switch to my side view here, just so you can see how I start the process, is I go through and grab these divisions, and then I start to pull them back a little bit here. Always in the wrong one. Pull this back a little bit here. Pull these back a little bit here. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling these back to kind of offset that space, so that now these are pretty close together. You're not going to get everything to be perfectly square, but the idea is that you get them closer. Before, these were like this, and there was a huge gap. Now they're pretty evenly spaced. Okay. Now, why that's going to matter is because when we start adding divisions and smoothing this out, we want those divisions to be pretty uniform across the entire surface, not like this. See how tight those are? That means that we're going to get a lot of skin pore detail there, but up here there'll be nothing, okay? Because it's too big of a division. So we need to make sure that they're as equally divided as possible. And this eye is bothering me just slightly. I just want to maybe grab this again, just one more time, and extrude it again. There we go. That looks better. And then I can just push this in a little bit. There. That looks much better, much more like an eye. Cool. And I'll probably tweak this a bit more too, just because I want these lines in here to be just a bit tighter. So stuff like this, you know, getting this line right here where the nose is. Maybe kind of emphasizing some of this character a little bit more. Because we're kind of creating our own character, once you have that base shape, you can really start to go in there and start to tweak some of these settings or some of the looks of things to create the head that you're really after, the design you're after. So even back here, I'm going to start spreading these further apart. Just to help get this nice and smooth. And if I need to, I can go inside here and turn this off. Oops, and there's a weird division here. Somehow I cut something back there. Oh, nope. See, I just collapsed. That's what I did. I put these vertices right on top of here, or very close to that. There we go. Okay, so I'll smooth all that stuff out afterwards, just kind of moving the points around and trying to even this up. Your goal at the end of this, 3D head low poly, is to create something that looks like mine, but has nice divisions all the way around it. So if you look at something like this one, you can see how evenly spaced these divisions are here. When you get to the face, it's going to be a bit tighter, obviously because you have more detail in there than you do the rest of the head. But these are always good to look at too, that way you can see where people are adding detail. Okay? So if you're doing the head, this is the one to go with. Just some other stuff that's going to bother me. I just want this to be out more like that. That's cool. The idea too with this is if you wanted to actually make a full-blown character with a body, imagine the body's there and you're kind of like, what would transition into that? And then make sure you save. The electricity was flickering today, so you make sure you're saving your stuff.
It actually went out.
Right, it went out here too, but it was flickering earlier than that.
It's because someone hit that pole and knocked the bottom of the
Just
pole
because I'm
out.
ignoring the machine, okay? You want to talk to me. I tell you no.
There you go. I even scaled this a little bit too. He was a little bit wide, so I can scale this in some. That was a bit too much. That was good. Okay. It is huge. It's a baby though. But that gives me a lot of room too for adding details. So on him, I'm actually gonna add some like horn things on there. That'd be cool. Because nothing's creepier than a baby. Babies and old people. It would be. Okay, so once you start your head, this is the first stage, getting this part done. If you need to at any point, delete the head and start a new one. Delete the head, start a new one. It may take you 4 or 5 heads before you get to that one that's like, this is working for me, okay? Don't be afraid to do that, because the more work you put in to create a good head, the better off you're gonna be, or the more you're gonna be satisfied with those end results, in 3 weeks. All right, any questions on this yet? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I was going to ask, when you placed your image in there, how did you mess with it? Because I tried to do something with it and it just wouldn't.
When you go to the, where did it go? Configure, and you go to back and you bring it in, then you should be able to just tweak the sizing and stuff here.
That's cool.
I think I just messed it up. Edit, redo, there we go. Nope, right here. You have to go to display for that camera, then go to back, and then you should be able to tweak it there. Yep. All right.